So welcome everybody. I have Jenny on my call today, and the podcast is called Creating an Impactful Legacy. And we are recording live right now on YouTube. And thank you, Jenny, for joining me today. And I know it's a Saturday and everybody's out playing around, but maybe this Saturday is still a great time. I mean, we're still kind of in lockdown. I don't know about you, but we're still
Very
supposed to stay
close
at
to
home.
home. Yeah, and just being ourselves, we're just like in our everyday. And my kids just went off to their neighbors so that I could have this chat with you, and
Yeah,
we're just being ourselves, connecting. It's very
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Thank you. So,
Mhm.
Jenny, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and
Sure.
what are you working on right now, or
Yeah, I just want
whatever
to
you
say
want to share.
thank you, Marilyn, first for
Right.
inviting me and for what you're doing, like creating this space for people to use their voices. I
Mm-hmm.
truly believe that our world is going to be a more beautiful and richer place as we find and discover and dare to share our own voice,
Mm-hmm.
not just
Right.
echoing someone else's, but like really share what's in our heart and spirit. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you for creating this space for
Yeah.
us.
You're welcome, Jenny.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
My
I
pleasure.
work as a behavioral science expert and business management developer for for a company called Avonova in Sweden. So I'm calling from Sweden, from a town called Tranås.
Okay.
And we in Avonova we're an organizational healthcare.
Okay.
So I get to work with a team like doctors and nurses and psychologists, and sorry for all the people that I just left out, but we're just a team of people who get to support the human being in the workplace, to
Right.
understand the greater picture,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and support in a lot of different processes, just like managers and CEOs and the employees and the work environment and the culture in general. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that's what I get to do, and I love my job, and I have some really awesome colleagues that I get to work with.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure that you've seen and heard a lot throughout this
Mhm.
pandemic as well.
I have. Like there's a great need out there, and there's that balance between seeing that need and also having emotional and psychological needs of our own,
Right.
and to show up for ourselves, to also show up for others.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very, yeah, it's a very interesting time, and we get to be very compassionate with ourselves
Right.
as we're trying to support others.
Mm-hmm.
For
And so
sure.
what kind of supportive role do you play? Just
hmm
encouragement, or what kind of
hmm
supportive role do you play?
Yeah, I get to do so many different things. I'm like a
Mhm.
kid in a candy shop. Like I get to coach managers.
Uh-huh.
I get to counsel teams, like
Mm-hmm.
entire teams. I get to map work environments and map conflicts and situations that cause stress,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of shed the light on the opportunities to
Right.
move forward and build a healthy and work environment. And I get to just sit down and hold space for employees that are struggling in
Mm-hmm.
various ways. Like there's we're in the middle of a crisis, but like we all have our own lives. We're all in the middle of our human experience,
Right.
and we need balance. So
Mm-hmm.
I meet people in so many different situations that struggle at work
Right.
due to, of course, things that happen at work, but
Right.
also things that happen in life.
Right.
And we get to explore and put the pieces together, and find a way forward for them to live according to who they are, and be that person that they want to be in their workplace.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. So what do
that's
you
a
think some of the biggest challenges that your clients face? Like, is it more personal side of things,
Mhm.
or at work?
Yeah, I think that we relate differently to things being out of our control.
Right.
So this pandemic is there's so much right now that is out of our control. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy to have our minds just be present with all the things that we cannot influence, and it's exhausting.
Right.
So it becomes like discovering like what's your relationship to that, and how can you be present with yourself and
Mm-hmm.
care for yourself. And I often meet people who are very compassionate, empathetic people who, you know, absorb other people's energy and
Right.
want to be there for others, and it becomes this imbalance that they're not really caring for themselves.
Right.
We get to discover like what's that like, caring for yourself. Is that selfish? I
Mm-hmm.
claim that it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's just a part
Yeah.
of caring, that you also care for yourself. It
Right.
includes yourself.
Right.
And yeah, that's a big struggle right now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've always thought that kindness is always starts with ourselves first. And that
Mhm.
means looking after ourselves,
Yeah.
knowing what our boundaries are,
Mm-hmm.
knowing how we take care of ourselves, whether that's
Mm-hmm.
eating or exercise or, it's all those things.
Right.
It's not
Right.
just a little thing that you do for yourself. So
Yeah.
I always, like, as you're saying, it is hard, and I imagine that through the people that you work with, it's more so because they probably feel so responsible for
Mm-hmm.
everything that's going on around them, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. It's like, where do I end, and
Right,
where does the responsibility of another person begin? Like, we're
right,
all responsible for our own well-being.
right,
Yeah. And sometimes I think that people like, I'm an empath myself,
right.
and I'm high sensitive. So like
Yeah,
I catch everything, like the information that people don't really realize that they're giving out there. And sometimes we feel like we're not being ourselves, or like we're not living according to our values, if we are setting clear boundaries. Like,
right,
we're so used to just responding, like saying yes all of the time,
right,
when really we get to be ourselves, because setting those boundaries is saying yes to ourselves, caring for ourselves, and it just means that we're important too,
mm-hmm,
you know.
mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's sort of like I would imagine, I'm just imagining that in your situation, dealing with all the people you deal with, is that they're probably, when you're at work, you're everybody. There's no ending. You know what I mean? In the personhood,
Mm-hmm.
there's no
Mm-hmm.
ending. It just flows with everybody else, right? And then you finish your shift or whatever, and you grab a moment and you can
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, who am I? Where am I? I don't,
Exactly, exactly.
you know,
It comes
yeah.
down to like intention and choice, I
Hmm.
think. Like, I'm gonna pause for a moment and, you know, find some clarity as to what am I experiencing, and what do I need right now.
Right,
Like, what, like my friend Linda Vetrus Nichols says, like, what's my pleasure list? Like, what fills my cup right now? And that can vary. Like, maybe 3 years ago it was something else, and maybe
right.
right now what I'm needing is different, and I get to always discover and listen to myself.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's so great about getting to pause. Like, I can choose to see the opportunity of relating to myself just like I'm relating to other people. Like, what really creates deep connection to the people in my life?
Right.
I spend time with them.
Hmm.
I support them on a rough day. I
Hmm.
listen. I
Hmm.
respect them.
Hmm.
Uh, I am curious as to what they need.
Right.
And I am quick to forgive.
Yeah.
Like, I get to be that for myself in this pandemic, because I'm pretty much stuck with myself. and I am for my life. You know, I get to be comfortable in my own company.
Right.
And it takes intention to just pause and hold that space for yourself, that, you know, it's, yeah, it starts with me. It
Yeah.
really does. And
Yeah.
I get to give and support from the overflow. And
Right.
it's not easy. I I'm learning as well.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we all are learning, and none of us
Yeah,
are perfect. I certainly am not perfect either. So we're all learn,
it's
we
yeah,
whatever. We go through the flow of life and then we stop and we pause and we say,
yeah,
I like your idea, the pleasure list. I went, that's a
yeah.
good way, a pleasure list. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's my takeaway. So, Jenny, can you tell us a little bit about some of the, I guess the challenges you have at work or some of
Mm-hmm.
the things that you personally have learned from and you want to share that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it's really been around what I just shared,
Yeah.
to hold that space for myself and really discovering that it's not about perfection.
Mm-hmm.
It's about getting to discover. It's about growth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, my life is my own. My body is my own, and I get to care for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Last, like 2020 was the year when I reclaimed my voice
Okay.
as yeah as many things, and as a woman,
Mhm.
mhm, as an
Yeah.
ex-wife, as a mother, I reclaim my voice. And
Mhm.
this year is when I reclaim my body,
Mhm.
uh, and just to find that space where you say like, okay, I'm going to create my life.
Mhm.
I'm accepting that this is where we are. We're in the middle of pandemic. These are the
Right?
things that I can't get to right now.
Yeah.
So what can I do?
Mhm.
And we get to make some new choices for ourselves.
Mhm.
We get to take out a direction. We get to discover our core values, and that's been challenging, but it's also been my greatest reward. Like
Mhm.
that, it's been a fear to be there, but behind that, there's all the good stuff that I've been longing for and waiting for, and that I'm ready for.
Mhm.
And so yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I just
cool.
want to ask, like, how about you?
uh, well, I'm just I'm a empath too, and I feel I'm a messenger. So I use my messenger messages just to do the podcast to help other people get the voice heard. Um, and also to share the message about how are we really creating an impactful legacy for ourselves, and it's not just for ourselves, it's for our business. um, what do you want to be known for when you pass on? Like what are people going to remember you as, you know
Yeah.
and that type of thing. Are they going to remember you as a mother that really cared for her children, and she was able to help me hold space, and she really listened to me. She was very respectful of me. So,
Mhm.
that's sort of how I see you as your legacy. So,
Mhm.
so it's just we all have to stop and think and say, okay, how am I creating a legacy for myself? I
Mhm.
mean, like you, it's like I'm saying, well, nobody's going to know your voice, Marilyn, unless you get up in the front. And I says, well, okay, I could be up front, and I've been up front, but I'd rather be behind the scenes, helping
Mhm.
others, lifting others, inspiring others to get their own voice.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's
It's
sort
so
of my.
very powerful. I've begun to understand that there is a space that is mine,
Right.
my own. Like there is no
Yeah.
one else that can feel that space but me and my unique voice. And as
Right.
long as I'm staying quiet, then the world is going to be missing out.
Right.
So really, that's really a message for anyone listening. Like there's a space for you,
Mm-hmm.
for your unique, authentic, own self
Right.
to feel. And as long as we're keeping quiet, the world is missing out on us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's we can speak for years without never really using our voices.
Right.
And for me, like I've been teaching, I've been doing so many things, I've had so many opportunities, and it's like standing on a stage, I feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
But when I started and dared and took the courage to use my own voice, like this is my experience, these are my beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
this is who I really am. It
Mm-hmm.
was terrifying.
Right.
And I am so massively grateful for the people around me. And I really have my Humans First community to thank for a lot of things that's been happening the last year.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because people around me started sharing that I had value,
Mm-hmm.
that I mattered, that I didn't have to try to fit in. I already belonged, you
Right.
know? I
Mm-hmm.
was allowed to just be me, share my story, and that just made it more beautiful and rich in all the, all the wounds and everything that we've been through. Like there's so many rough life experiences, and that's how it is for us all. And when we can meet in that sense of like our humanity being the bridge between us, uh, we uh, we just get to be very comfortable with ourselves and with one another and find that unity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. As you're talking, I'm sort of thinking as Melissa Pierce talks a lot about just being enough. We are enough.
We were born enough.
We are born enough, but
Mhm.
somehow we've lost our way thinking we have to do this, do this, do
Yeah.
this just to show up, right? And we
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Like we outsource our sense of value to how we think that other people perceive us.
Right?
Yeah. And we seem to think that there's a correlation between our value and our performance.
Right.
Like on good days, like, well, I'm pretty valuable, like, I'm pretty worthy, and then on bad days, like we think that that's changing, and it's just not. It's absolute. There's nothing we can do but enjoy this experience and be present and explore and just remember that life isn't about perfection. It's really a journey of discovery and growth that we get to share with one
Right.
another.
Yeah. I sort of
Enjoy.
look at that as just saying, okay, I'm in a situation, I've never done this before, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to do my best, and that's all I can do, and just enjoy
Yeah,
that experience. And it's
sure.
amazing how well it works out, just,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And we never know the impact that it's having on someone.
right.
And I really believe that working with people, the messages of hope and encouragement, or just sharing um the human experience, it just echoes through lives. And like
Mm-hmm.
you don't know how that's going to make that person treat somebody else differently
Right.
or encourage someone else. Like it goes beyond what we can understand, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
very encouraging.
Yeah. So, what's your voice? What is your message, Jenny?
My message, I was just like, before we entered this conversation, I was just thinking back, like, so I'm not very comfortable to speak about the stuff that I've done. I've been a national director, and I've been section director, and like there are different things, but it's like, what was the value that I wanted to create? And I didn't realize it at the time when I started studying social work,
Mm-hmm.
but the value that I've been wanting to give the people that I work with and the people that I meet, it's
Mm-hmm.
really in alignment with the values that I am now discovering are my core values.
Right.
Yeah, so it's about unity,
Mm-hmm.
which is the title of the book that I just had published,
Okay.
that I'm very excited about, and its simplicity and its gratitude. And I'm just noticing, like, I'm very active on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not that I, are trying to pinpoint a certain group or trying to make a certain business. I
Mm-hmm.
am just there pausing and being present with myself, and I'm sharing what is coming up, and it is around how we can choose unity,
Right.
how we, in all our differences, and in a society and in organizations that are just constantly changing,
Right.
how we can choose to create a deeper belonging with
Mm-hmm.
one another, being
Mm-hmm.
different, and understanding just the values of our differences,
Mm-hmm.
and having that become very close to home.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not about what somebody else should do. It's not about shaming other
Right.
people. It's about bringing it back to me, and how can I have an impact?
Right.
Like, how can I relate to this? What can I do? And what can I enjoy doing?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of LinkedIn, it's sort of like you were saying, embracing everybody, whether
Yeah.
their views are different or not. And
Yeah.
there's a few people I notice love to shame people. And I'm
Mm,
going, it's sort of like I've even gotten into conversations with a few people and
mm,
have been slammed because, my opinion is a little bit different, but I still kind
sure.
of agree with them. And so I think that's the biggest challenge is like you were just saying, is that we have to embrace everybody's opinion. We still
Yeah.
respect them.
Yeah.
They're entitled to their opinion. I always say opinions are like belly buttons. Everybody has
Mm-hmm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
So just embrace them and say they might be different than yours, but how
Mm-hmm.
can we come together and just kind of, if we can't agree, maybe we just agree to disagree, but still leave that relationship intact,
Mm-hmm. Sure.
right?
Like we can acknowledge, and it doesn't mean that we are agreeing.
Yeah,
And we can appreciate a person like, thank you for making me self-reflect.
right.
Thank you for bringing me closer to myself and
Yeah,
understanding where I stand in relation to you.
yeah.
And yeah, and in my book Choosing Unity, it starts with us. And there's just like there are different choices that we get to make
Mm-hmm.
to keep that space open and to understand the values
Right,
uh, of holding it open and keeping our minds open.
right.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. So cool. I'm so enjoyed our conversation. We'll have to do it another time as
I love
well.
it.
Continuing on the conversation.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
what is it that you would like? Do you want to tell everybody about your book, or do you have it with you, or no?
I don't have it with
Okay.
me to,
Well, it's
like right
coming.
now.
It's
Yeah,
coming.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's coming and it's on Amazon. You can get it there.
Yeah.
And it's challenging. There's a lot of being present and reading between the lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I yeah, just and reach out to me. Like I love connecting with people, and
Mm-hmm.
I love to have that personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah,
Okay.
like we have a bunch of choices, and it's really something that we can get to enjoy. It's not something that we have to do, it's something that we get to do. And
Right.
it serves all of us
Mm-hmm.
to find one another, yeah, as we are still, you know,
Yeah.
beautifully unique and perfectly perfect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. Well, it's great chatting with you, Jenny. I wish you all the best in your
Thank
new
you.
venture of your book and your love of your work, and that's
Mhm.
so cool. So take care of yourself.
I
And
will.
thank you, everybody, for listening. It's Mary Lynn Harris of Creating an Impactful Legacy. Thank you for joining us today. My always final words is be kind to each other because that's all we have. So thank you for joining us. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye. Just, I have to end this call.